The city burned under a red sky, stood at the window of the council chamber and watched his world die. Smoke rose from 1,000 fires. Buildings that had stood for 3,000 years crumbled into dust. The ships hung in the sky like dark moons, raining death on everything below. "How many?" asked without turning. 2 million dead in the capital alone," his aide whispered. "The eastern continent is completely lost. They are killing everyone, Elder, everyone." Closed his eyes. They were a peaceful people. They had no weapons, no armies, no defense against the Dominion. When the invaders came 6 months ago, they had tried to negotiate. They offered trade, resources, anything they wanted. The commanders had laughed and started bombing. "Send the message," said quietly. "Elder, the Galactic Council has already refused to help. They say they are too powerful. They say intervention would start a greater war." "Not to the Council," turned to face his aide. "Send it to everyone. Every species, every world, every system in the known galaxy. Send our plea everywhere." The aide looked confused. "But what can we offer? We have nothing left to trade." "We offer everything. Anything they want. Our resources, our knowledge, our loyalty. Anything at all if they will just help us survive." The message went out that night. It was simple and desperate. "This is Elder of the people. Our world is dying. The Dominion is destroying us. We have no weapons. We have no defense. We are a peaceful species and we are being slaughtered. We beg any civilization that receives this message for help. We will give anything you ask, please. Our children are dying. Please help us." For 3 days there was only silence. The Galactic Council met to discuss the message. The great civilizations of the galaxy sat in their comfortable chambers and debated. The representatives said intervention was too risky. The Empire said they should have built defenses. The collective said this was an internal matter. They all agreed. Nobody would help. On the 4th day, a response came. The communications officer burst into his chamber. "Elder, we received an answer." Stood up quickly. "From whom?" "The Council, a nearby system." "No, Elder, from Terra." The room went silent. Everyone knew that name. Terra, Earth, at the edge of the galaxy, home of the humans. "They accepted?" asked carefully. "Yes." The message was very short. It said, "Terms accepted. Terra sends aid. Fleet arrives in 4 days." Aide grabbed his arm. "Elder, no, you don't understand. Humans are dangerous. They come from a world where everything tries to kill everything else. They are predators, violent, unpredictable. The Council has warnings about them." "What warnings?" asked. "That they should never have been allowed into space. That they are too aggressive, too willing to fight. That they enjoy war. Elder, there are stories about human soldiers, terrible stories." Walked back to the window. Another explosion lit up the horizon. He could hear screaming from the streets below. "Good," he said softly. "We need terrible, we need dangerous. Send a message back. Tell them we are grateful." Within hours, the Galactic Council contacted directly. The ambassador appeared on the communication screen, his face tight with concern. "Elder, we understand you have requested aid from Terra." "Yes, Ambassador." They were the only ones who answered. "You must rescind that request immediately. Humans are unstable. They are a warrior species from a class 12. Do you understand what that means? Their planet tried to kill them for millions of years. They evolved to fight, to hunt, to destroy threats. They see violence as a solution to every problem. And yet they joined the galactic community peacefully," noted. "Barely. They have been involved in 17 conflicts in the 50 years since first contact. 17. Most species never see combat at all." "How many of those conflicts did they start, Ambassador?" The paused. "That is not the point. The point is that humans are dangerous. If you bring them here, you may find that you have traded one invader for another." "They are killing my people right now, Ambassador. They killed 40,000 yesterday. They will kill more tomorrow. If the council will not help us, then we will accept help from whoever offers it. You are making a terrible mistake. Perhaps, said, but it is our mistake to make. We called for mercy. Terra answered, that is enough. The communication ended, sat down heavily. His aide brought him water. Do you think the ambassador is right? The aide asked quietly. That the humans might be worse than the... Drank the water slowly. Outside, the fires continued to burn. I don't know, he said honestly, but I know what they are doing. I know our people are dying. The council speaks of humans like they are monsters, but monsters who answer a cry for help are better than civilized species who ignore it. 4 days passed like years. The push deeper into territory. More cities fell. More millions died. Stopped counting the dead. The numbers were too large, too terrible. On the 4th day, the sensors detected ships entering the system. 3 vessels, only 3 compared to the 200 warships in orbit. They were smaller than the dreadnoughts. They looked almost fragile. Watched them approach on the tactical display. His military advisors looked at each other nervously. 3 ships, one whispered. They sent only 3 ships. Maybe that's all they needed to send. Another replied, but his voice shook with doubt. A message came through from the lead human vessel. This is commander of the Terran vessel Indomitable. We received your call for help, Elder. We are here. Tell us where you need us. The voice was calm, steady. There was no fear in it, no hesitation. Found himself relaxing slightly just hearing it. Commander replied, thank you for coming. They have complete orbital control. They have ground forces in our capital city and 3 major population centers. We have no military capacity. We need everything. Understood. Stay safe, Elder. We'll handle this. The 3 human ships moved toward the fleet. Every watching the sensors held their breath. This was either salvation or the end of everything. Commander stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and studied the enemy fleet. 200 ships, heavy cruisers, destroyers, carriers. Against his 3 frigates, it should have been suicide. He smiled coldly. Tactical assessment, he said calmly. His second officer, a young woman named, read from her display. 211 enemy vessels, 17 dreadnought class, 43 heavy cruisers. They have us surrounded and are moving to intercept. Commander, they're hailing us. Put them through. The screen flickered. A commander appeared, his 4 eyes glowing with amusement. He was large, covered in thick armor plating that was part of his biology. Human vessel, you are outnumbered 70-1. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly. Looked at the alien commander for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was not a nice smile. You have 10 minutes to leave this system. After that, we consider you hostile targets. The commander stared. Then he started laughing. His bridge crew joined in. You dare threaten us, we will crush your tiny ships like insects. 9 minutes, 30 seconds, said, and cut the communication. Looked at him nervously. Commander, they really do outnumber us badly. They do, agreed. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we can do. Signal the Relentless and the Fury. Begin combat dispersal. Load all weapons. Authorization 7 Alpha. Sir, that authorization is for total warfare protocols. I know what it is, Lieutenant. Execute. The 3 human ships spread out. They were small and fast, built for speed and maneuverability. The fleet moved to surround them, confident and slow. They're launching fighters, reported. 300 combat craft inbound. Launch our birds. Tell Wu he's cleared for full engagement. In the fighter bay, pilot Wu climbed into his cockpit. His hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. Around him, 20 other human pilots were doing the same. They were outnumbered 15-1. Wu grinned. All pilots, this is Talon Leader, he said into his comm. Today we show these bastards why Earth is a... Remember your training, remember your families, and remember that we are the best pilots in the known galaxy. Let's prove it. Talon's launch. 21 human fighters shot out of the Indomitable's bay. They accelerated hard, pulling G-forces that would have killed most species. The human pilots grunted against the pressure but held firm. The fighters came at them in neat formations, textbook tactics. Wu watched them approach and shook his head. Talons break formation, free hunt, make them chase you. The human fighters scattered in every direction. The formations tried to follow, confused by the chaos. That confusion lasted about 10 seconds. Then the humans attacked. Wu rolled his fighter completely inverted and dove at 3 craft. They shot at him. He didn't dodge. Instead, he flew straight through their firing lines, twisting and spinning in ways that seemed impossible. One shot grazed his wing. He ignored it and fired back. 2 fighters exploded. Watched the battle on long-range sensors. His military advisors stared at the displays in disbelief. "How are they moving like that?" one asked. "Those maneuvers should rip their ships apart." "Look at the G-forces they're pulling," another said, voice shaking. 8, 9, 10, that would kill any pilot we know. "Not humans," said quietly. "They evolved on a high-gravity world. What kills us is normal for them." In space, the battle continued. Wu's fighter was damaged now, leaking fuel and oxygen. His warning lights were all red. He laughed and pushed the throttle forward. "Talon 3, I'm hit bad," another pilot called out. "Can you fight?" Wu asked. "For a few more minutes." "Then fight. We'll go home when they're all dead." The pilots were panicking now. They had fought many species. They knew how space combat worked. This wasn't space combat. This was madness. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose. They took damage that should have forced them to retreat, but they kept attacking. They flew in ways that violated every safety protocol. They screamed and shouted over their communications, making sounds no civilized species would make in battle. On the Indomitable, Commander watched his fighters work. Weapons status. Charged missiles locked, targets acquired. Fire. The Indomitable's main guns opened up. Solid metal slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed. They hit the cruisers with devastating force. Armor that could withstand plasma beams crumpled like paper against kinetic impacts. The commander who had mocked earlier watched his ship's shields fail. "What are those weapons?" he screamed. "Simple physics," said, though they couldn't hear him. "Mass times velocity. We just throw rocks really, really fast." The battle lasted 40 minutes. When it ended, 70 ships were destroyed. The rest were retreating in disorder. The 3 human vessels had damage, but all were still fighting. Wu brought his crippled fighter back to the Indomitable. He had to make an emergency landing in the bay. When he climbed out, his flight suit was covered in blood from a dozen small wounds. The medical team ran to him. "I'm fine," he said, waving them off. "Just scratches. How many did we lose?" 3 pilots, the deck officer reported sadly. 5 more badly injured. Wu nodded slowly. "They died well. Make sure their families know." Turned to his advisors. They were all staring at the tactical display in shock. "They won," one whispered. 3 ships against 200 and they won. "Not one," corrected. "They survived the first engagement, but yes, they did what we could not." A message came through from Commander. "Elder, orbital space is contested now. We're moving to secure your capital city. Can you provide us with ground force positions?" "Yes, Commander, sending data now. But they have 50,000 troops in the capital alone. You only have 3 ships." "We have enough, Elder. Keep your people in shelters. Human Marines are very good at their job, but they tend to break things." The communication ended. Looked at his advisors. "Pass the word to all shelters. Tell our people that help has arrived. Tell them to stay hidden. The humans are coming." In the ruins of the capital city, ground forces received word of the orbital battle. Their commanders couldn't believe it. 3 small human ships had driven off the fleet. Impossible. It must be a trick. "Prepare for ground assault." the ground commander ordered. "If the humans are foolish enough to land troops, we will slaughter them. We have them outnumbered 1,000 to 1. His second-in-command looked uncertain. "Commander, perhaps we should request reinforcements. The reports from the orbital battle are disturbing." "Disturbing? They are exaggerations and lies. No species can fight like the reports claim. We have nothing to fear from a few human soldiers, nothing at all." Above the city, 3 human entered the atmosphere. Inside one of them, Captain Sung checked his weapon one more time. Around him, 40 Marines did the same. They were all quiet, focused, ready. "2 minutes to drop," the pilot announced. "Stood up. Listen up, Marines. We have 50,000 enemy soldiers down there. They think they're safe in their fortifications. They think we can't hurt them. Let's show them what happens when you hurt innocent people. Let's show them what Terra sends when someone calls for help. Let's show them why we're called the Terran beasts." 40 voices shouted back. They hit the ground hard. The ramps dropped. The Marines charged out into hell. And they learned what true terror felt like. The soldiers opened fire the moment they landed. Plasma bolts lit up the ruins of the capital. They poured enough firepower into the landing zone to vaporize a small building. When the smoke cleared, they expected to see nothing but scorched metal and dead humans. Instead, they saw Captain Sung and his Marines running straight at them. "Contact front," shouted. "Suppressing fire, move, move, move." The Marines scattered and advanced. Plasma bolts hit the ground around them. One Marine took a direct hit to the chest. The shot burned through his armor. He stumbled, went down on one knee, and kept firing. Another Marine pulled him behind cover. "Is hit," someone called. "How bad?" asked, not taking his eyes off the enemy. "Through and through, he'll live." "Then he can still fight. You good?" The wounded Marine's voice came back, tight with pain but steady. "Good to go, sir, just a scratch." In the fortification, the enemy commander watched through his sensors. "Impossible," he muttered. "That soldier took a direct plasma hit. He should be dead." "They're still advancing, Commander," his tactical officer reported. "Should we fall back?" "Fall back from a handful of humans. Never send second company. We'll drown them in our numbers." 200 more soldiers poured out of the fortification. They advanced in tight formation, firing as they came. The Marines took cover behind rubble and returned fire, but they were outnumbered 20 to 1. Lieutenant called into his comm. "We're pinned down at the main gate. Could use some help." 3 blocks away, Lieutenant smiled grimly. She was leading a squad of 12 Marines through the ruins. "On our way, Captain, 2 minutes." She signaled her squad to follow and started moving fast. They ran through destroyed buildings, over piles of debris, through flooded basements. They moved like ghosts, making almost no sound despite their heavy armor and weapons. They came up behind the formation, held up her fist. Her squad stopped instantly, silent. She pointed at targets. Each Marine nodded. She counted down on her fingers. 3, 2, 1. 12 Marines opened fire at once. 12 soldiers fell. The enemy formation spun around in confusion. Squad was already moving, advancing through the chaos, firing and moving, firing and moving. "That's," said with satisfaction, hearing the fighting behind the enemy line. "All Marines push forward now." The soldiers found themselves trapped between 2 groups of humans. They tried to fight both directions at once, but the Marines moved too fast, hit too hard. Within minutes, the formation broke and ran. "Regroup on me," ordered. His Marines gathered around him. He counted heads. "Sound off. Whose combat ineffective?" "Is still leaking, sir," someone reported, and took shrapnel to the leg. "Can they walk?" "Sir, yes, sir." "Then they can fight. Good work. Welcome to the party." Nodded. Her face was covered in dust and someone else's blood. "Always happy to crash in, sir. What's the plan?" Pulled up a tactical map on his wrist display. "The main command post is 6 blocks north. Heavy fortifications, probably 5,000 soldiers. We need to take it out. One of the Marines whistled. 52 of us against 5,000. I like those odds. Good, said, because we attack at nightfall. These bastards are about to learn why humans own the dark. The message was sent back to Elder. He read it in disbelief. Captain says they're going to attack the main enemy position. Tonight, he has only 50 soldiers. They have 5,000 troops in that position, his military advisor said. This is suicide. Maybe, said, or maybe we still don't understand what humans can do. Night fell on the ruined capital. The soldiers in the command post relaxed slightly. Most species couldn't fight well in darkness. They set up perimeter lights and automated defenses. They felt safe. In the darkness outside, and her squad moved closer. They had removed their armor and wore soft black clothes. Their faces were painted dark. They carried knives and silenced weapons. Held up her hand. Her squad stopped. She pointed at 2 sentries standing under a light. She made a cutting motion across her throat. 2 Marines nodded and melted into the shadows. 30 seconds later, both sentries were dead. They hadn't made a sound. The squad moved to the wall of the compound, pulled out a small device and attached it to the wall. It was a shaped explosive charge. She set the timer for 3 minutes and signaled her squad to move away. Captain, we're in position, she whispered into her comm. Roger that, all teams report. 6 more teams called in. They were positioned all around the command post. 52 humans against 5,000, and they didn't even know they were there. Charges set, said. Detonation in 30 seconds, night vision on. When the walls blow, we go in fast and hard. Remember, they can't see in the dark like we can. Use that, and remember why we're here. Those people in the shelters are counting on us. Make every shot count. Execute. 8 explosions ripped through the compound walls simultaneously. The soldiers jumped up, grabbing weapons, trying to see what was happening. The lights in the compound went out. Backup generators kicked in, but team had sabotaged them. The compound went dark. And the humans attacked. The soldiers fired blindly into the darkness. They hit each other more often than they hit humans. The Marines moved through the dark like it was daylight. Their night vision gear turned the battlefield green and clear. They could see everything. Shot 3 soldiers in quick succession. They never saw him. He moved to new cover. A group of enemy soldiers ran past him, searching for targets. He let them pass, then shot them from behind. Contact left, someone shouted in the darkness. Where? I can't see anything. Just shoot everywhere. They filled the air with plasma fire. Most of it hit nothing. Some of it hit their own soldiers. The humans picked their targets carefully, fired once or twice, moved and fired again. Found the command center. 4 officers were inside, shouting orders into communicators. She kicked the door open and stepped inside. They all turned toward her, reaching for weapons. She shot 3 of them before they could draw. The 4th managed to get his weapon up. Wait, he screamed, please, mercy. Stared at him. She thought about the millions of these soldiers had killed, the cities they had burned, the children who had died begging for mercy. Mercy, she said quietly, like you showed the. She didn't shoot him. Instead, she knocked the weapon from his hand and zip-tied his wrists behind his back. You're a prisoner now. You'll stand trial for what you did here. The battle lasted 2 hours. When dawn came, the command post was in human hands. 3,000 soldiers were dead. 2,000 had surrendered. The rest had fled into the ruins. The cost to the Marines: 5 dead, 17 wounded. Every wounded Marine refused to be evacuated. They stayed and fought. Elder arrived at the captured command post with a security team. He found Captain sitting on a pile of rubble, drinking water. The human captain's armor was scorched and dented. Blood covered his face, though couldn't tell if it was his own or someone else's. Captain said carefully, I came to thank you and to see if the reports were true. Which reports? Asked. That 50 of your soldiers defeated 5,000 in close combat, in the dark. Shrugged. 52, actually, and yeah, that's about right. We're good at this, Elder. We've been fighting in the dark for 1,000,000 years on Earth. Every predator on our world hunts at night. We learned to hunt back. Looked around at the destruction. Bodies lay everywhere. Human Marines were setting up defensive positions, treating wounded, securing prisoners. They moved efficiently, calmly, like this was routine. I don't understand, said. Your people are injured, some badly, but they don't stop. They don't complain. How? Stood up and walked over to where a Marine was having his arm bandaged. Hey, how you doing? Fine, sir, just a flesh wound. I can still shoot. That's what I like to hear. Turned back to, we're human, Elder. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to endure. We learned that pain is temporary but giving up is forever. We learned to keep fighting no matter what. He paused. But we also learned something else. We learned when to show mercy. He gestured to the prisoners. They were being given water and medical treatment. We could have killed them all. It would have been easier. But we didn't. Because we're not monsters. We're just good at fighting monsters. Looked at the human captain for a long moment. The Galactic Council warned me about your kind. They said you were too violent, too dangerous. They're not wrong, admitted. We are violent, we are dangerous, but we choose who to aim that at. We choose when to fight and when to show mercy. He smiled tiredly. You called for help, Elder, we answered, and we'll keep fighting until your people are safe. That's what Terrans do. Felt something in his chest loosen. These humans were terrifying, yes, but they were terrifying on his side. Thank you, Captain, he said quietly. Thank us when it's over, Elder. They still have forces on your world. We have work to do. 3 weeks after the humans arrived, the war turned completely. The forces that had seemed unstoppable were now in full retreat. Their commanders couldn't understand what had happened. They had numbers, firepower, and fortifications, but none of it mattered against the Terrans. In orbit, Commander coordinated the final push. His 3 ships had been joined by reinforcements from Terra. Now 12 human vessels controlled the space above them. Every ship had either fled or been destroyed. Commander reported from her station. We're receiving surrender requests from the remaining ground forces. 15,000 troops in 4 different locations. They want to negotiate. Tell them no negotiations, said firmly. Unconditional surrender only. They lay down weapons, they get treated according to Terran military law. They refuse, we keep fighting. No middle ground. The message was sent. Within an hour, all 15,000 soldiers surrendered. On the surface, Captain watched the last enemy position lower its flags. His Marines secured the weapons and began processing prisoners. He felt tired in a way that went deeper than physical exhaustion. Sir, Lieutenant approached. Elder is requesting a meeting. He says it's time to discuss payment. Nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess it is. Tell him we'll meet at the government building in an hour and get cleaned up. We're representing Terra here. An hour later and entered the government chambers. Elder was there with his full council. They all looked nervous. The humans had saved them, yes, but now came the price. Stood as they entered. Captain, Lieutenant, please sit. We have much to discuss. And sat across from the leaders. The room was quiet. We owe you everything, began carefully. Your people saved us from extinction. You fought when no one else would. You risked your lives for strangers, and now we must honor our promise. Whatever Terra wants from us, we will give. Our resources, our labor, our loyalty, just name your price. Glanced at, she gave him a small nod. He turned back to. We don't want resources, said. We don't want labor. We don't want you to become servants of Terra. Looked confused. Then what do you want? We promised you anything. We want trade routes, said. Fair trade both ways. We want to exchange knowledge, learn from each other. We want cultural exchange programs. We want our people to visit your world and your people to visit ours. We want open communication." The council members looked at each other in disbelief. "That's all," one of them asked. "Just trade and friendship." "That's not small," said quietly. "We want allies, not subjects. We want friends who choose to stand with us, not people forced to serve us. There's a big difference." Leaned back in his chair, he looked like he might cry. "I don't understand. You could ask for anything. We have valuable minerals, rare technology. You could demand ownership of our world. Why ask for so little?" "It's not little," said. "It's everything. See, Elder Terra learned something a long time ago. You can conquer people, make them serve you, take everything they have. But that makes enemies. It makes people who hate you and wait for their chance to rebel. That's not what we want." "What do you want?" asked softly. "We want a galaxy where people help each other, where when someone calls for help, someone answers. We answered your call. Maybe someday you'll answer someone else's, or ours. That's what we want to build." Before could respond, the door opened. A Terran medical officer entered. She was young, with kind eyes and hands that moved with practiced gentleness. She saluted. "Captain, I apologize for interrupting. I'm Doctor. I need to speak with Elder about the civilian medical situation." "Of course," said Elder. "This is our chief medical officer. She's been running the field hospitals." Sat down and pulled out a data pad. "Elder, we've been treating civilians for 3 weeks now. We've seen over 40,000 patients. Many have injuries from the fighting, but many more have diseases and conditions that existed before the war." "Yes," said sadly. "We are not an advanced species in medical technology. Many of our people suffer from illnesses we cannot cure." "We can help with that," said. "We brought medical supplies and equipment. We've set up 3 hospitals, but we need your help. We need doctors to work with us. We need to teach you our techniques so you can continue after we leave." Blinked. "After you leave? You're planning to leave?" "Well, eventually," said. "This is your world, not ours, but we won't leave until you're ready. And we'll leave behind everything we can. Medical equipment, training, knowledge. We want you to be able to care for your own people." A young stepped forward from the back of the room. His name was, and he had been recording everything since the humans arrived. He had filled dozens of journals with observations about the Terrans. "May I ask a question?" said hesitantly. "Of course," said. "I've been watching your people for 3 weeks. I don't understand you. You fight like demons. I saw you destroy 5,000 soldiers with 50 Marines. I saw Pilot Wu fly a damaged fighter for 20 minutes when he should have ejected. I saw wounded soldiers refuse treatment so medics could help civilians first. You are the most violent and most gentle people I've ever seen. How can you be both?" Smiled sadly. "Because being strong doesn't mean being cruel, and being kind doesn't mean being weak. Humans learned to fight because our world tried to kill us. But we also learned to care for each other because that's how we survived. We're pack animals. We protect our pack." "But we're not your pack," said. "We're strangers." "You were strangers," corrected. "You stopped being strangers when you asked for help. When someone asks for help, they become part of the pack. That's how humans think." Stood and walked to the window. The city outside was still in ruins, but citizens were walking the streets again. Human Marines stood guard on corners, waving at children. Medical tents bore both Terran and symbols. "I was terrified when your ships arrived," admitted. "The Galactic Council told me you were monsters, violent, uncontrollable, dangerous. I thought I had traded one set of invaders for another." He turned back to face them. "But then I watched you fight. Not just the violence, though that was terrible to see. I watched what happened after the fighting. I saw your Marines share their food with refugees. I saw your medics treat prisoners with the same care as civilians. I saw Commander let ships escape rather than destroy them when they tried to flee. No point in killing people who are running away." His voice came through a comm unit. He had been listening. We fight to protect, not to massacre. That's what I realized, said. You are monsters when you fight, but you choose when to be monsters. The rest of the time you're just people, brave people, kind people, people who keep their promises. He walked back to his seat and sat down heavily. We accept your terms, Captain, trade and friendship, cultural exchange. We will be proud to be allies of Terra. Stood and extended his hand, looked at it unsure. It's a handshake, explained. A Terran custom, it means we agree, it means we trust each other. Reached out and took his hand. The human's grip was strong but gentle. There's one more thing, said. We have 18,000 prisoners. They committed terrible crimes against your people. What do you want us to do with them? His face hardened. What would you do if this were your world? We'd put them on trial, said. War crimes tribunals. Fair trials with evidence and defense. Some would be found guilty, some might not be, justice, not revenge. And if we wanted revenge, asked quietly, if we wanted them all executed? We wouldn't do it, said firmly. We didn't fight to save you so you could become killers. We fought so you could remain the good people you are. Don't let what they did change you into something dark. Was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Trials, then justice, you're right. We should not become what we fought against. Good, said. We'll help you set up the courts. We'll provide security. But they'll be your trials, your justice. This is your world. As the meeting ended and the leaders left, approached in. I'm writing a book, he said, about humans, about what I've learned. I want to make sure other species understand you, not the propaganda the council spreads. The truth. What truth is that? Asked. That you're not monsters, said. You're people who learn to fight monsters. That you're violent when you need to be and gentle when you can be. That you're the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but also the most trustworthy. That's a complicated truth, said. All the best truths are complicated, replied. Can I ask what you'll call this alliance between our peoples? And looked at each other, smiled. How about friendship, she said. Simple as that, Terra and friends who help each other, that's enough. That's more than enough, agreed. That's everything. The last stronghold was a fortress built into a mountain on the eastern continent. Inside were 8,000 soldiers and their supreme commander, General Al. They had nowhere left to run. They also had 500 civilians as hostages. Commander studied the fortress from orbit. His tactical officer, a young man named Jin, shook his head at the scans. It's a nightmare, sir, Jin said. The fortress is built into solid rock. Our weapons could crack it open, but the hostages are scattered throughout. If we bombard it, we'll kill them along with the ground assault, asked. Possible but costly. They have the high ground, heavy weapons, and they know we're coming. We'd lose a lot of Marines getting in, and there's still no guarantee we could save the hostages. Stared at the tactical display. After a moment, he opened a communication channel. Captain, are you seeing this? On the surface, reviewed the same data. He was standing with a platoon of Marines, ready to assault the fortress. I see it, Commander, it's ugly. Can we do it? Was quiet for a moment. He looked at his Marines. They were ready to go, ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. But how many would die trying to save those hostages? We can do it, said finally. But we'll take heavy casualties, maybe 30–40%, and we might not save all the hostages. That's not acceptable, said. Sir, there might be another way, Jin interrupted. We could try to negotiate. Negotiate? Looked surprised. They're war criminals, they've slaughtered millions. What do we have to negotiate? Their lives, Jin said. They're trapped, they know it, they're desperate, maybe desperate enough to make a deal. His voice came through the comm. It's worth trying, sir. We can always attack if talking fails. Thought about it. Every instinct said these deserved no mercy. They had shown none to the, but he thought about what it said to about not becoming what you fight against. All right, said. Open a channel to the fortress. Let's see if General Al wants to talk. Inside the fortress, Al received the communication request. His officers advised him to ignore it, but he was curious. What could the humans possibly want? "This is General Al," he said. "What do you want, human?" "This is commander of the Terran fleet. I want to talk about ending this without more death." Al laughed bitterly. "You want us to surrender? Why would we do that? You'll just execute us anyway. At least if we fight, we'll take some of you with us." "Nobody needs to die today, General. Not your soldiers, not our Marines, and not the hostages you're holding. The hostages are our only leverage. If we release them, you'll attack." "We could attack right now," said calmly. "We have the firepower to destroy your fortress completely. We haven't because of the hostages, but if we wanted you dead, you'd already be dead." This was true, and Al knew it. "What are you proposing?" "Release the hostages, surrender your weapons, face trial for war crimes. In exchange, you and your soldiers live. Fair trials, legal representation, the chance to defend yourselves. And if we're found guilty, then you face punishment according to galactic law. Prison, not execution. Humans don't believe in the death penalty." Al couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're offering us trials, mercy, after what we did." "We're offering you justice," corrected. "There's a difference. Mercy would be letting you go. Justice is holding you accountable while treating you fairly." One of Al's officers stepped forward. "General, this is a trick. The humans are famous for their violence. They'll kill us the moment we surrender." "Maybe," Al said, but he thought about the reports he'd received over the past 3 weeks. Human Marines who shared food with refugees. Human medics who treated enemy wounded. Human pilots who let escape pods go instead of destroying them. Maybe the humans really were different. "I need proof," Al said. "Proof that you'll keep your word." "What kind of proof?" asked. "Send someone to negotiate face to face, unarmed. If you're serious about peace, you'll risk it." Looked at Jin. The young officer nodded. "I'll go, sir. I speak some. I can negotiate." "Too dangerous," said. "It's the only way to save those hostages without a fight, sir. Let me try." Thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. Then he nodded. "All right, but you're not going alone. Captain, can you spare someone?" "Lieutenant volunteers," said immediately. "I didn't volunteer," protested. "You were about to," said with a slight smile. 2 hours later, Jin and stood at the fortress gates, unarmed. They wore dress uniforms instead of combat gear. The gates opened slowly, and soldiers escorted them inside. General Al met them in the fortress command center. He was huge, even for a covered in scars from 100 battles. He looked at the 2 young humans with curiosity. "You came unarmed," he said. "Either you're very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both," Jin said. "But we came because we want to end this peacefully." "Why?" Al asked bluntly. "We killed millions of, we would have killed you if we could. Why show us any kindness?" "Spoke up. Because this is what humans do. We fight when we have to. We protect people who need protection. But we also believe everyone deserves justice, even our enemies." "I don't understand you," Al said. "I've fought many species. They all follow simple rules. They fight to win resources, territory, dominance. But humans fight for ideals, for concepts like justice and mercy. Why?" "Because those ideals matter," Jin said. "They're what separates civilization from savagery. If we abandon them, we become no better than the monsters we fight." Al sat down heavily. "I am a monster. I know what I've done. I gave the orders to bomb cities. I knew civilians would die. I did it anyway." "Then face trial for it," said. "Own what you did. Let them have their justice. But do it the right way, not in a battle that kills more innocent people." For a long moment, Al was silent. Then he looked up at his officers. "What do you think? Should we trust them?" One officer shook his head. "General, they're the enemy. This is a trap." But another officer, younger, spoke up. "General, I was at the Capitol battle. I saw how humans fight. They could have killed all of us. They didn't. They took prisoners instead. They gave us water. They gave us medical care. Maybe they really are different." Al looked back at Jin and, "If I surrender, if I release the hostages, will you personally guarantee our safety?" "Yes," Jin said without hesitation. "On your honor as a Terran." "On my honor as a Terran." Al stood up. He removed his weapon belt and placed it on the table. His officers stared in shock. "Then I surrender," Al said. "All forces under my command will lay down their weapons. We will release the hostages, and we will face trial for our crimes." The evacuation of the fortress took 6 hours. The hostages came out first, scared but alive. Terran medics met them, providing water and medical care. Then the soldiers emerged, laying down their weapons in neat piles. Captain met General Al at the fortress entrance. The general looked at the human captain with something like fear in his eyes. "I expected you to look more monstrous," Al said quietly. "We're only monsters when we need to be," replied. "The rest of the time, we're just people keeping our promises." "Will they really give us fair trials?" "Yes, we'll make sure of it. You'll have lawyers. You'll be able to defend yourself. It won't be perfect, but it'll be justice. And then, if you're found guilty, you'll serve your sentence, but you'll be treated with dignity. No torture, no execution, just time to think about what you did." Al nodded slowly. "I don't deserve this mercy." "It's not mercy," said. "It's civilization. It's choosing to be better than our worst instincts." 1 month later, Elder stood before a crowd of 1 million in the rebuilt Capitol Plaza. Beside him stood commander, captain, and lieutenant. Behind them, Terran and flags flew together. "Today," began, "we celebrate the end of a war and the beginning of a friendship. When they came to destroy us, we called for help. The Galactic Council refused, but Terra answered." The crowd cheered. Human Marines in the audience looked embarrassed but pleased. "We called them beasts," continued. "We feared they would be worse than our enemies, but we learned something. Humans are beasts when they need to be. They fight with a ferocity we've never seen, but they also show mercy we've never imagined. They could have demanded anything from us. They asked only for friendship." He turned to Commander. "Commander, on behalf of all, I formally accept Terra's offer of alliance. We pledge our friendship, our trade, and our support. If Terra ever needs help, we will answer." Smiled and shook's hand. "We'll hold you to that, Elder. Friends help friends." In the crowd, finished recording the speech. His book was nearly complete. He had titled it The Beasts Who Weep, Understanding Humanity. In it, he had documented everything he had witnessed about humans. Their violence in battle, their gentleness with the wounded, their refusal to abandon their principles even when it would be easier, their ability to fight like demons and then share food with refugees an hour later, their strange human capacity to be both the most dangerous and the most trustworthy species in the galaxy. He had interviewed dozens of humans. They all said similar things. They fought because someone needed protecting. They showed mercy because that's what civilization demanded. They kept their promises because their honor mattered more than convenience. The book would be distributed across the galaxy. Many species would read it with disbelief. But others, those who needed help and had nowhere to turn, would read it with hope. Because now they knew. If you called for help, if you were truly desperate, if the civilized galaxy abandoned you, there was one species that would answer. Terra would send aid. And when the Terran beasts came, they brought both war and mercy. They brought justice and compassion. They brought the promise that violence could be controlled, that strength could be gentle, that civilization meant choosing to be better than your worst impulses. They brought hope. As the celebration continued, stood with watching the crowd. "Do you think it'll last?" she asked. "This alliance?" "I think so," said. "We saved them, they're grateful, But more than that, I think they understand us now. They know we're not monsters, just people trying to do the right thing. We are monsters sometimes, said quietly. Yeah, agreed. But we're monsters who choose when to be monstrous. That choice is what makes us human. Above them, Terran and ships flew in formation, a symbol of the new alliance. In the prisons, war criminals awaited trial, guarded by humans who treated them fairly despite their crimes. In the hospitals, human doctors worked alongside physicians, sharing knowledge. And across the galaxy, the message was spreading. Terra would answer when you called for help. The beasts would come, and they would bring both fury and mercy. That was the Terran way. That was what made them different. They pleaded for mercy, and the Terran beasts came. Not to conquer, not to enslave, not to replace one tyrant with another, but to protect, to save, to offer justice instead of revenge. To prove that being powerful didn't mean being cruel, that being dangerous didn't mean being evil. To show the galaxy what humanity really was, a species that could fight like demons but chose to act like angels. A species that knew how to be monsters but decided to be heroes instead. That was humanity, that was Terra. And the galaxy would never be the same.